Are there any questions for any of the speakers that we can start with?
My question is for Phoebe. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of using data since you're relying on kind of intake data? And I know there's going to be flickers.
Yeah, so there's two types of missing data I can think of. So one is selection bias of who we see in our data actually. So missing rows, if you will. So here we're not doing anything about that. We are assuming that the population of people we see later will be a similar subset to the one we saw historically, and we're only matching people who we see in the HMIS data, and similarly, we will only match in the future people who we do see in the HMIS data. That seems realistic. We're not trying to increase the amount of people we see. That would be an interesting but separate question to some extent. If we are able to do that, we could generalize all the approaches. So if we could, like, let's say, have access to all the people who are experiencing homelessness, we could adapt everything we have done to that new data, to that new population, I should say, even without collecting more data.
What about missing fields?
Good. So the main field that is missing for us, that is a difficulty, that causes like technical issues, is the fact that for any given individual, we can only see their outcome under the intervention they received, and we don't know what would have happened to them had they received a different kind of intervention, and we deal with that using causal machine learning approaches.
Other questions? Hang on.
My question's for Keith. Did you get a chance to evaluate like how robust your model is to different kinds or like features of encampments? Because I imagine that like there's a very wide distribution on what an encampment might look like, or is there something that like your model is continuously missing out on?
So we had a broad distribution of typical encampments in LA, and we were able to get a very high precision, 95% roughly. But there's also, I think you bring to the point that this might not address the full representation of what encampments could look like. So the best we can say is, yes, we did a good job, but the other cities may have differences that we want to evaluate.
All right, great. I think we've got time for one last question.
My question is, one question, one suggestion. Do homeless people actually communicate?
Homeless people actually communicate using X and these kind of services that actually cost, to subscribe to them.
Yeah, actually, we found a lot of personal accounts of homelessness. So X is at the moment free for use. There are subscription models too. But again, I think you bring up like a broader point of like what these services are, who has access, and we haven't done anything beyond X at the moment. But the hope is that these conversations or the models that we build can generalize to other platforms where we are collecting data. It may not work exactly with the kind of survey data we have available. It's designed to work for smaller conversations, but there are other platforms where these conversations are happening, and we can definitely.
And things like disappear. The other thing is, do you have any funding from DARPA?
No.
Because then certainly are very interested in what you're doing.
We have funds for me.
Yeah,
Please.
this is it. We started about a year ago, so yeah, we're definitely looking for funding if people want to fund us. So that we're open to that. So let's give a round of applause for this.